Hello, everyone. Welcome to Prepositions. What is the point? If everybody can hear me, please type yes in the chat or say hello. Just that way, I can know that you guys can hear me and that everything is going to be fine and that you guys can hear and learn something from this presentation. Hello, Joanna. Nice to see you. If anybody else could please just confirm that you can hear me, and then we can continue to this next part of this presentation. Hello, I saw another person there. Nice to meet you. Yes, awesome. Good, good. Hello, hello. Good guys. Thank you guys so much. This kind of just helps make sure that what I'm saying you guys can hear, right? Because that's the whole point of these presentations is for you guys to learn something. And if you can't hear me, well, it makes it a little difficult for you guys to learn. Awesome. I see almost everyone's put something in the chat. Thank you guys so much for participating. Much appreciated there. So I'll just dive into kind of what we will discuss in this presentation. So this will go for about a half hour long. My goal is to get you guys out of here right at a half hour around there. I want to be mindful of your time, and I appreciate you guys so much logging into this presentation. What we're going to discuss, what you guys probably deduced already, we will be discussing prepositions and what is a preposition and what is the point of these prepositions. Why do we have to use these prepositions? So it's an aspect of grammar, right? So we are going to be doing a bit of a grammar lesson and going down the rabbit hole of all the knowledge that the English language kind of offers to you guys. So like I said before, my name is Charles. I have been a tutor here for it's about 6 months almost. I started last year. And I kind of wanted to do this topic because it is such an important aspect of the English language. So let's get right into this presentation, guys, and you will be able to find out why I think this is so important for you guys. So here is a list of prepositions. So first off, what is a preposition? So a preposition shows the relationship between two different things, all right? And here is a list of the 15 most popular prepositions that will be used in almost any English context. So I will go from left to right, and then we will move down. So the first one is above. So I will create a sentence using some of these words. I won't go through all 15. That would take us a little bit too long, but I can use above for an example. So above is a very famous preposition. So I can simply say, above the earth, the sun is there, right? So we're saying that above the earth, the sun is there. And it shows the relationship between the sun and the earth, right? Another very famous one is below. You have from, of, to, after, with, by, in, over, at, without, for, like, and since. So like I said before, these are some of the most famous prepositions, and what we will use most of these in our presentation today and the lesson that we will be learning. All right, guys. So let's move on to the next part. So guys, take like a mental picture of this list, and kind of have it run through your head. That way, you guys can kind of remember what some of the famous prepositions are. Now, is this new to you guys? Is prepositions new, or do you guys already know about that? So use the chat for this. That way, can kind of understand what the room is like. So have you guys heard of prepositions before, or is this brand new to the people who are participating today? That way, I can kind of know if I have to be more specific or less specific in certain areas. So if you guys can tell me, what kind of do you know about prepositions? Put that in the chat. Maybe you can say a lot, maybe a little, maybe not much, or something like that, or it's brand new to you. So yeah, if you guys could do that, I would appreciate that a lot. I'll give like 20, 30 more seconds. That way people have time to kind of participate in this little part of the presentation. So go ahead, guys, and get involved. I encourage that a lot. That way I can know some of the needs and some of the strengths of people who are already participating in this. All right, well, no one's done that so far. That's no worries at all. So now we will talk about what the whole purpose of prepositions is, or what is their purpose, right? Why do we need to use these words? So what is a preposition? Like I said before, prepositions shows the relationships between two different things, right? So like I said earlier, the earth and the sun, that could be an example of the two different things in a sentence. And they also are very, very important for telling us three key things. And those three key things are in red at the bottom of your screen. They tell us where, they tell us when, and they tell us how something is done. All right. So they show how a noun or a pronoun relates to some other words in the sentence. All right. So what we're going to do, we are going to do a bunch of activities today for us to be able to practice how to use prepositions, and how the proper wording and the proper scenarios are for prepositions. All right, guys. So we were going to do a little activity right here about telling us where. All right, so where is the noun in this object relating to something else? And I love turtles, so we are going to use turtles for this little exercise. All right, so the first sentence, I will read it here. It says, the turtle swims under the sea. So as you can see, the two things that we are relating to in this sentence is the turtle and the sea, right? So where does he swim? He swims under the sea, right? So without the context of the preposition, all we know is that the turtle swims, right? So one thing to keep in mind, prepositions are not necessarily a have to have. They are used for more colorful languages and colorful speaking, right? Because if we don't have this preposition in the sentence, so if we take out under the sea and we throw it away, the sentence is only the turtle swims, which is still a complete sentence, right? But what we want to know about the turtle is like, where does the turtle swim, right? He swims under the sea. So that sentence shows you where, all right, where the turtle swims, he swims under the sea. And the second part of the second sentence says, the turtle is from the zoo. So where is this turtle from? He is from the zoo, right? Where is he from? Right? So for example, in this sentence, this is the kind of the opposite. You need the preposition in this sentence because it'd be the turtle is. The turtle is where? Where is the turtle? He is from the zoo. All right. So this is the activity that mentions specifically where, right? So we're going to talk about where. So the first sentence, the turtle swims under the sea. That's where he swims. And now where is the turtle from? He is from the zoo. All right. So now we'll move on to the second part, or the second question that is solved using prepositions, and that is when. All right. So we'll talk about when things happen or when certain things take place. So in sentence number one here, we are going, and in this exercise, we will talk about dogs. Dogs are one of my favorite animals. I just love animals so much. You guys will find that out throughout this presentation, but I love animals. All right, so sentence number one, he says, my dog likes to sleep after walks. So this answers the question when, right? When does the dog like to sleep? After his walks, right? So like I said before, if you throw out after walks, it's still a good sentence. My dog likes to sleep. All right. So this just answers the question. When does the dog like to sleep? After his walks, right? After he has his exercise, after he works out all the energy he had throughout the day, he goes to bed and he goes to sleep. Now, let's look at sentence number two. The neighbor takes his dog out at 7 a.m. every day, right? If you guys have noticed and looked, I always have the prepositions highlighted in a different color. That way you guys can not have trouble trying to figure it out, right? It makes it a lot easier for the both of us. So in this sentence, in sentence number two, the preposition is the word at, and it answers the question when, right? When does the neighbor take his dog out? At 7 a.m. every day. All right, so the neighbor takes his dog out at 7 a.m. every day, right? It adds more color, it adds more context, right? Because if we just say the neighbor takes his dog out, okay, cool, but we would like to know, when does he take his dog out? Does he take him out at night? Does he take him out in the morning? And this answers the question when. At 7 a.m., a specific time, right? At 7 a.m. every day. So these two sentences show how prepositions help answer the question when. And now let's dive into the the last question that prepositions answer. And for this little exercise, we will use elephants. I think baby elephants are super cute. Like the movie Dumbo, which is about a elephant, was my childhood favorite movie. I enjoyed that movie a lot. So now we'll use elephants in this exercise, all right? And we'll answer the question, how? So the sentence number 1 says, the elephant ran home with his mother. How did the elephant run home? With his mother, right? It's a very, very simple sentence. Like I said, we don't need the preposition in the sentence because it's still a complete thought. The elephant ran home. That's a complete thought. But we want to know, how did he run home? Did he run home with his dad, with his mom, with his friends? He ran home with his mother. With his mother. My apologies. Sentence number 2 here answers the question how again. The elephants are strong, like giants, right? So the preposition here in this sentence is like giants. So how strong are the elephants? They are strong like giants. So this answers the questions of how, right? So we talked about all three. We talked about excuse me, we talked about where, about when, and how. So the three most questions that are answered using prepositions, right? So that's kind of the purpose of prepositions, is to answer one of these three questions, to add more context and to make our sentences more colorful and kind of make us sound more professional in certain situations. So now what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to do 2 little exercises here of filling in the blanks. All right, so I will walk us through this exercise and I will give us the right answer at the end. All right, so now we're going to talk about answering the exercise of where. So this is the exercise. We're going to have to figure out which, either letter A, letter B, or letter C. Which of these prepositions answers the question where, all right? So letter A is with. So let's try to put that one in the sentence, all right? The dog ran home with the park. That doesn't make much sense. How do you run home with a park, right? That is a piece of land. That is very hard to run home with, all right? Letter B, from. The dog ran home from the park. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense, right? Because where did he run home from? The park. And now in letter C, to the park. The dog ran home to the park. Now, we already crossed out letter A, right? Letter A is not an option for us. It just doesn't make sense at all in the sentence. So if we talk about with letter B and letter C, those are our 2 options left, right? Those are the 2 that kind of make sense. So we'll use letter C again. We'll try to think, does this make does this make the sentence clear? The dog ran home to the park. That is incorrect, right? That does not make sense. Because how does he run home to the park? The park is not his home, right? The park is a place. He's going home now. So like a couple of you guys put in B as the answer, and that is correct, right? It makes the sentence clear and it answers the question where. The dog ran home from the park. That is correct. Good job, guys. If you guys want to do that, that's awesome. It helps us get involved. That's just great. Thank you guys so much for that. And now we'll do the exercise of when, all right? Now we're going to do the same exact thing. We'll read the sentence, fill in the blank with either letter A, letter B, or letter C. So let's do this. I prefer to go out blank. I have a nap. So we're talking about the when, right? We have to answer the question when. I prefer to go out of I have a nap. That doesn't make much sense, right? How is that when? When does that? That is an incorrect answer, right? The letter B is in. So let's put that one in, right? I prefer to go out in I have a nap. That is incorrect grammar. Like some of you guys said, the answer is C, right? I prefer to go out after I have a nap. That makes the sentence clear and it answers the question when, right? So if we look back from what we started with, we talked about prepositions, right? We talked about some of the more famous prepositions. So there's obviously some other ones that could be used, but we talked about that. And we talked about the purpose. They answer the question when, where, and how. Those are the 3 questions you always got to think of with prepositions, all right? And now we are going to dive further into the aspect of prepositions, all right? So this is the second part of this presentation, and it's called the prepositional phrase, all right? Now, what is a prepositional phrase? Simply, a prepositional phrase is what follows a preposition. So I highlighted it all in red here for you guys. And let's read sentence number one. I enjoy to sleep after a long day. All right. So that is the prepositional phrase right there in sentence number one. After a long day. So that answers the question, right? When does he like to sleep? After a long day, right? We all get tired. We all enjoy kind of being lazy and kind of enjoying ourselves after a long day. So that answers the question where. And the second sentence here says, in the morning, I make my coffee. Now, sentence number one, um, answers the same question, right? But it is at the latter half of the sentence, while in sentence number two, it is at the beginning part of the sentence. So we're going to kind of dive into how are some ways you can recognize if it is a preposition or not, all right? And what is a whole prepositional phrase. So we're going to talk about that right now. So some very key ways if you're looking for a preposition, right? First thing you have to look for is the preposition, right? So you have to find the preposition. So like I talked about, above, after, at, of, over, since. You have to, there's so many words that are possible of being prepositions. So you have to kind of have your knowledge on all the different kind of options of prepositions and all the different variety and all the different standards of prepositions, right? So you have to do your own research on that. So you have to look carefully in each of the sentences, find the preposition, all right? But here is the trick. A preposition is always followed by a prepositional phrase, all right? So if there is no prepositional phrase, that word is not a preposition. It can function as something else. It can function as a adverb, which is probably the most popular way that prepositions can be used. Is if there is no prepositional phrase, it is simply a adverb or something else. So you have to make sure that there is something following the prepositional phrase, or else simply it is not a preposition. All right. So that's the one kind of big thing people have to understand when it comes to prepositions. If there is no prepositional phrase, there is no preposition in that sentence, right? So here's a very famous word that we can use to tell if is it a preposition or is it not. So I unfortunately don't have it on the slides, but I will say it out loud. So the sentence is, we all went aboard. Now, if you guys remember, I told you guys that aboard is a very famous preposition, but there is nothing that follows the word aboard, right? So what you have to do, that no longer functions as a preposition. But if the sentence says, we all went aboard the ship, that is a preposition because something follows the preposition, right? The boat or the ship in that sentence, right? So if there is no prepositional phrase, if there is nothing following the preposition, if the sentence ends on a prepositional word, it does not function as a preposition, all right? So that is kind of the key thing to remember. That if you guys have any questions, save that till later. There will be a section where I can answer your questions to clarify things and to make things more clear, all right? So make sure you have to find a prepositional phrase in order to find a preposition, right? So you first thing, to find a prepositional phrase, look for the preposition, right? And if there is something that follows the preposition, it is a prepositional phrase. If there is nothing, it is not a preposition, all right? So that's something to be very, very, very careful of when it comes down to, I guess, say, identifying the prepositions. And now the last part of the whole aspect of prepositions, and it is something called the object of the preposition. So now we are going to be discussing prepositional phrases completely, right? So what is the object of the preposition? Essentially, it is the whole context of the preposition and what we discuss, right? So it is a noun or pronoun to complete the prepositional phrase, to complete a phrase, right? For example, let's look at sentence number one. We'll pause at sentence number one and I'll break that down, okay? So I highlighted in red the preposition. In blue, is the object of the preposition. All right, so the sentence says, the troll lives by the bridge. So it answers the question, where does the troll live? He lives by the bridge, right? So I identified in my head first, what does this answer? Does this answer when, where, or how? That's always the first rule, right? Is this preposition if it answers one of these questions? So the troll lives by the bridge. So the preposition in that sentence is the word by. And the prepositional phrase is by the bridge, right? It is the phrase following the preposition, by the bridge. And the object of the preposition is the noun or pronoun to complete a phrase, which in this sentence is bridge, right? So bridge is the noun that follows the preposition and it completes the phrase. So there's three big aspects to prepositions, right? We discussed that. We have our prepositions, then we have our prepositional phrase, and then we have our object of the preposition. So let's look at sentence number 2, and this could be very tricky, all right? So I don't know what to choose between pizza or a burger, all right? Now I highlighted it for you guys to make it a lot easier so we don't have to worry about kind of understanding different things like that. So like I said, in red is the preposition between. It shows the relationship between not knowing what to choose and the pizza and the hamburger. Like, now in blue is pizza and burger. So he doesn't know what to choose between the pizza and the burger. So our preposition is in red, and that is the word between. Our object of the preposition is the words pizza and the word burger. And our prepositional phrase is between pizza or a burger. That is the whole phrase, right? And we dissected which part is the preposition, which part is the object of the preposition as well. So now there's some very big key things you guys will have to hear before we move on to the next exercise, all right? So it is very common that you can find two or more prepositions and or prepositional phrases and two or more object of the prepositions. All right. So like we were just discussing here, you saw that there's two objects of the preposition, which is pizza and which is burger. And sometimes you will run into two prepositions or two prepositional phrases. So that will you guys have to be very careful if you're like doing a school exercise or you're simply just trying to learn on your own. Never stop when you just find one, because you might find two and there might be a second preposition or a second object of the preposition to find. All right. So now let's recap all three of these stages that we talked about when it comes to prepositions. All right. So we first discovered what is the purpose of the preposition. It answers the question where, when, or how. So those three always relate to the prepositions. And we also talked about the common prepositions, right? Some examples. And then we talked about prepositional phrases, which is the complete phrase or the words following the preposition. And so for example, and remember I said, if it does not have a prepositional phrase, it is not a preposition, right? It is not what a preposition is. It's simply functioning probably as a adverb. So you have to make sure there is a prepositional phrase following your prepositions. And then this part is like the last part of objects of prepositions that we discussed. And that is the noun or pronoun to complete a phrase. And it relates the prepositional phrase. It completes it, right? Like sentence number 1 says, by the bridge. Bridge. It answers it relates to the word by. Like, by what? The bridge. And in sentence number 2, this is when it shows two prepositions. Two object of the prepositions. My bad. My apologies. And it says, between what? What is it between? Like, how is it between what? Pizza or a burger, right? So we have to answer what completes this phrase, right? So like now we're going to do a exercise where nothing is highlighted and we are going to discuss where is the preposition, what is the prepositional phrase, and where is the object of the preposition in these sentences. So identify, all right? We are going to identify which is which. So we're going to start with sentence number 1. I will walk us through it and where to, not divide, but where to find the aspects of what we're trying to find. So we're going to find the preposition, the prepositional phrase, and the object of the preposition, right? So sentence number 1, After I read it, we will pause, dissect, move on to number 2, okay? So sentence number 1. When I sing, I always sing below the right note. So now let us identify. Okay. Pause. Where is the preposition in this sentence? And we found it right there. It is below. Below is a very famous preposition. It's one of the most used prepositions. All right. So we found below. Below is our preposition. What is the prepositional phrase? It is what follows. So we're going to go below the right note. That is the prepositional phrase. And now below what? He sings below what? So when you find a object of the preposition, sometimes you have to ask yourself the question what? What below, what is it below? And is below the note. So our preposition in sentence number 1 is the word below. Our prepositional phrase is below the right note. Our object of the preposition is the word note. All right. That is our prepositional phrase, and that's how we identified it in sentence number 1. Now let's move on to sentence number 2, where it can be a little bit trickier. All right. So I will read it, pause, dissect, and then we'll move on. All right. So sentence number 2 says, the new kid at school is from Brazil. All right. So let's look at the words. Is the a preposition? No, the is not a preposition. Is not a preposition. Is functioning as the verb. So the preposition here is the word at. At is a very popular preposition. You can say at school, right? That is the preposition. Now, the prepositional phrase here is hidden in the middle of a sentence. So let's see, we have to identify it and be very, very careful in what we're doing, right? So the new kid at school is from Brazil. So at is a preposition. At school is the prepositional phrase. And school answers the question what, right? What? He's at what? At school. So this is a very condensed version of a prepositional phrase. It is simply at school. At is our preposition. School is our object of the preposition. All right. So I hope that kind of identified that it's not necessarily always at the end. It is not always at the beginning. It is sometimes at the middle of a sentence. So it takes very, very careful skill. And now the last exercise that we will do is sentence number 3, all right? He says, my parents have been married since 1999, all right? So let's discuss. Where is the preposition in the sentence? Is it been? No. Been's functioning as a verb here. He's like, they have been married. So since is our preposition. Since is also a preposition. It was in the list earlier. So since 1999. Now this is another condensed prepositional phrase. So we found our preposition, which is since. Our prepositional phrase is since 1999. And it answers the question, since when? Since when have they been married? 1999. In this sentence functions as the object of the preposition. So that is about to bring us to the end of all our exercises. So let me recap quickly, all right? We discussed our prepositions, what questions they answer, when, where, and how, as well as some very popular prepositions. And then we moved on to the prepositional phrase, which is the word or words that follow a preposition. And we now know that without a prepositional phrase, it is not a preposition. And then the last thing we did was, what is the object of a preposition? It is the noun that completes the prepositional phrase. Sometimes it could be longer, like in sentence number 1, where it says note is 3 words after, or it could be right after, like in sentence number 2 and 3. So I hope that helped you guys out a little bit. Now, if anybody has any questions, put that in the chat, and I will do my best to answer it. And then we'll wrap up with a couple other things, guys. We are about to be done. That was a very informative presentation, a very informative lesson. If anybody has anything to say, put that in the chat. And if not, I will throw up a couple polls just so we can understand if it was helpful for you guys or if it was not helpful for you guys, and kind of what you guys enjoy and what you do not enjoy. I'll give about 5 more seconds for questions. All right, I do not see any questions at this time, so I will throw up a couple polls for everyone. Please answer them. It just gives us a little bit more understanding of how you guys enjoyed this presentation, all right? So it should be up on your screen now. Please fill that out. It will be very, very appreciated from you guys. All right, I'll give like 10 more seconds and then we'll wrap up with that. All right, thank you guys very much. And there's one more poll, and we will wrap up and be done with this presentation. And here's the last question: would you guys like to take part in similar events in the future? Thank you guys very much for filling this out. I appreciate it a lot. It is a huge help for me to know that it was helpful and beneficial for you guys, because that's my goal, right? That is my goal and what I want to do for you guys. All right, thank you very much for filling out these polls for me. It's very big appreciation coming from my heart to you guys. And that brings us to the end of our time together. But that was awesome. That was a very beneficial presentation. So please follow Tutlo on Facebook, LinkedIn, and on YouTube. Stay in touch with the community. You can learn some very helpful learning tips and just be surrounded by your English tutors and your English co-learners. And that is the end of our presentation, guys. Thank you so much for coming in here. We end at about 30 minutes. I want to be mindful of your time. Thank you guys for participating in this with me, and I hope I get to see you soon. Like I said, my name is Charles Theodore Monk. I'm a Tutlo tutor, and it is an absolute privilege to do this for you guys. Take care, and I hope to see you guys again, whether it's on presentation or in a class. Take care.